Hello, good afternoon. Good afternoon to all the participants, and good afternoon to Mahesh Pandit sir. I welcome Mahesh Pandit sir for this afternoon session. Today morning we had two very interesting and very interactive sessions by Mr. Keshav Rajgopal sir and Dr. Nitin Verma sir. Before handing over to Mahesh Pandit sir, there is an announcement for all the participants. There will be a test on Friday, it is 25th September at 10 a.m. first session. Test will be conducted, and the test will be conducted by Mahesh Pandit sir. And regarding the pattern of questions and all, Mr. Mahesh Pandit sir, he will make an announcement during the course of his presentation. Now I request Mr. Mahesh Pandit sir to take over. Thank you, sir. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Basuraj sir. Start. I hope all of you have my slide deck, but I'll start sharing my screen. Okay. Can you see my screen? I hope so. So let me begin with a expression of condolence. We heard sad news yesterday that one of the participants and one of your colleagues is no more with us. So our deep regrets and condolences. We pray that may God give his family the strength to bear for the loss. And I applaud the mechanical engineering department to carry on with this program despite bearing in the loss. So let's keep Mr. Girish in our thoughts when we run this program. So now back to my slide deck today. Okay, I'll talk about the test after some time so that there will be some more people in the audience. So today I'm going to talk about an important point. If you have noticed the color coding in our plan for this FDP, we had shown different things in different colors because we had clustered these sessions into buckets. So our idea was the beginning and the ending is in one color. So the overviews are all here, 2 overview sessions. Then we had this formulation, 4 sessions on formulation, and now 3 sessions on execution. So we have fairly understood what is this blue ocean strategy and how does it work, and we are familiar with the taxonomy. Now we need to understand, we have started understanding how do we put this into action. So that's the block we are in. So this is the second session of the execution. So I believe Dr. Nitin Verma has spoken much about the organization hurdles. He is a veteran of change. So I have a slide exclusively dedicated to explain one thing that he keeps telling me about the change. So now we are in this session, build execution strategy, and tomorrow we will go into how do we sustain and renew blue ocean strategy. So tomorrow, this will be the end of the FDP, but not, there's still another interesting extension to that. The test will come here on Friday, first slot. I'll talk about it when we come to that. So we are in the execution block. Now we have understood our blue ocean. We have an idea about it. What is it that we want to do? We know how to scale it up. We have understood our customers, non-customers. We have understood the strategy. We have got all the blocks of the strategy, the sequences right. We have used we know the tools and techniques involved. Now it is time to go into action. How do you do it? How do we create an organizational strategy to implement this blue ocean? So let me begin like yesterday with a question. So please shout out the answers by unmuting yourself or type it in the window, chat window. Who is the most important person in your college? What do you think? Who? I don't need the name. Don't tell me Professor Gopal Krishna. I don't know. Like, I need the role. Who is it?
Students.
Okay, one answer. Next. The college is run by, sorry, accountant, is it? What was that? I heard accountant.
The management.
The management, okay. Any other? No one is going for principal? Sorry?
Principal.
Okay. I was just about to tease, telling nobody is speaking principal. Okay. No HOD? How about yourself?
If we are brutally honest, it could be peons also.
Yes, why not? You must have watched Munna by MBBS, right?
Right.
Any other answers? I'll take two more.
Teachers.
Teachers, okay. One more.
Parents and other stakeholders.
Parents, yes. And other stakeholders. Stakeholders is very, very interesting. Let's say next to your college there is a temple, and next opposite, and next to that temple there is a tea shop. Do you think that tea shop fellow is a stakeholder of your college? Just a question. It has got nothing to do with blue ocean.
Yes. Yes.
He is a stakeholder.
Yes.
And what about the temple?
Yes, they are.
The god in,
And also the guard.
also there?
Also the guard, because whenever we enter in the college, the first person, whenever we see the guards and we enter in our college, we actually feel safe.
Okay.
Like for me, they're also important because I just feel that हाँ ठीक है boundaries के अंदर I will be safe.
Very interesting. See, identifying stakeholders is always a very challenging exercise. Most of the times, the strategy or your plan goes for a toss because we fail in this first step. We don't know who our stakeholders are. Similarly, when these kind of questions are posed, asked to you, who is the most important person in your college? We always tend to think about different roles: customer, student, parent. Yeah, always if you ask this question in a business organization, most 99% of the time people say customer, because he's the one who pays the money. Customer is important, customer is right, Mahatma Gandhi said so, all these things. But you know that the surprising answer is everyone. There is no role that is not important in your college. So when you build a strategy, you should widen your thought process. When you say that each and every role is important, you will think about to what extent you should involve them, right? So if you make a mistake in identifying stakeholders or the importance of a role, that's where you will strategy starts derailing. Okay, so the real answer surprisingly different answer is that everyone is important in your college. And now that you think about, if your security guard does not open the gate, it's gone, no? Your guest comes at 10 o'clock in the evening. It usually happens to me whenever I reach JNNCE. I arrive late and somebody comes running and opens this gate, right? That is an important role, isn't it? Someone shows me to the guest house, someone introduces me, someone similarly welcomes a parent, someone enrolls a student, the student sits in the class, lecturer gives a lecture, principal governs the college, examiner examines. So each and every role is important. So just bear this thought in you when we go through this presentation, okay? So we will go through this process, what is poor process, fair process, principles that are fair process. We'll tell you a story about two plants, and then we will think about why this fair process matters. So my entire presentation today will focus on that phrase, fair process. So you might be wondering, what is this fellow? Started off with strategy. I was expecting an MBA kind of a lecture. Now he says it's all down to a process, which can be expressed in a flow chart. But wait and watch and see what this process does, what it did to major brands. Okay. Now, when I think by this time we should have understood this point that every blue ocean means a change within the society or within the various stakeholders or within an organization. Everybody changes. Nearly everything changes when you bring in a blue ocean, right? Swiggy, Facebook, IPL, think about those things, an aeroplane, yeah, Spider-Man comic, Men in Black movie, Avengers movie, Pro Kabaddi, the CET exam, the Common Entrance Test, the NEET exam, the GST, all these are brought in big things, and it triggered a change. So I'm quoting Dr. Nitin Verma here. He puts people into two buckets. He says, "Hey, look, Mahesha, you and I, both of us have faced a fair bit of change in our personal lives as well as the kind of organizations that we have worked for and the programs we have delivered. If you think about it, if you track my career and Nitin Verma's career, you'll see a lot of overlaps and other things. He keeps telling me, Mahesha sir, Mahesha G, he calls me. He says, look, there are two kinds of people. One, guardians of the change. The other one are the champions of the change. So what these guardians do, they don't want the change. So they guard the current process. They don't open up. They don't share data. Oh, by the way, don't put me on the spot by telling for guardians, I've shown a female figure, a woman, and for the champion, a man. I don't mean no disrespect here. It's just that I chose a template and this is what happened. Yeah. So here, there are champions of the change. Those who like the change, they want the change, and they will work with you to implement the change. They are the champions of the change. Yeah, they're the guardians and champions. This is the terminology which you should keep in mind. Why are on to each role? And some of them guard the current process, and some of them are willing to take the current process to the next level. Okay, next. Now, rolling out a change, there's so many. How do you roll out something? Just imagine, yeah, there is a TV which is sitting on a stand. That stand has wheels. You need to bring it into the living room. Yeah, you roll things out, right? Yeah, you literally roll the trolley. Have you ever gone to these new shopping malls? There's always four wheels to this cart, and one of the wheel has a mind of its own. It does not cooperate. I don't know, like, is it me always picking up the wrong trolley, or the design, is it by design? One of the wheels will be flying around and dancing around, which makes the whole trolley misaligned. So rolling out anything needs alignment of key people. So your first thing is that how do you view your organization? See, the blue oceans, it does not mean that every blue ocean creates a new company. Okay, blue oceans are created by existing companies. So the change impacts the performing organization. We call the current company where the blue ocean is being created as the performing organization, or just an organization or company. So you should treat everyone as important frontline person. Okay, there's a difference between top and frontline. Frontline people are the leading face of the organization. Now tell me in your college, who is your frontline and who is your top management? Which role is the frontline?
Faculty.
The faculty. Yes. They
Right,
are the
right.
ones.
We teachers
Yeah.
are the frontline warriors.
Yeah. They are the ones. In our fight against corona, who are the frontline? The doctors, right?
Because
Doctors, medical paramedics, and all these fellows. The top people are usually the decision makers, the directors of the organization, the owners, the stakeholders, investors, these people. But all these people should be aligned. And whenever a change, Keshav sir brought out a very interesting point. I was listening to his lecture. He said, when change is rolled out, even the directors, top management, they get frightened. They are the first ones to get frightened. Oh my God, I'm going to lose my power, not the job. This power game is very, very important in these organizations. I don't know what happens to people after they cross one level. This power game sets in. Oh, this change means I'm gone. With this change, this guy will become more powerful in the organization. Yeah, it's a power game, right? Now, how do you roll this out? So you have to convince everyone. First of all, you should tell everyone. You should inform everyone. That is the first mistake these organizations do. They don't tell people what is it that they're going to do, right? They don't even tell if they are making cars and suddenly they see an opportunity to build a helicopter. It's possible that many people don't know that the thing that they are building actually flies. I'm giving an extreme example, but that's how organizations work, because the information sharing is quite poor in organizations. Okay, and let's say even if you share the information, okay, that sharing is a part of the culture, right? You should set up a culture of sharing, open sharing. Hey, look, it doesn't mean that we should share everything. Yeah, like, look, this is the GST we paid. Look, this is the password of the corporate bank or internet bank account. Now, I don't mean that kind of sharing. That's too much. Share information should be shared on a need to know basis. That is where the problem sets in. The top management thinks, look, the guy who fits the screw or assembles the vehicle at the end of the assembly line need not know whether what he is assembling flies or runs. So this need to know is also misinterpreted in organization. Who decides who needs to know what? So how much to share, what to share, when to share is a difficult thing in the organization. Married people will understand anyway. Okay, it's just like personal life. Yeah, because it's the people. It's the same set of people performing within a family, and it's the same set of people working in an organization. So this is a people game. So you have to share information to do what? To generate a commitment and trust. Okay, we will see these are, you might think, oh, now this FDP is becoming a bit boring, but you will see what happened when people ignore this point. Okay. So now, who typically makes all the strategies in your college? Who puts out a new strategy to attract new people? Is it the faculty, the principal? Who is it? The secretary? Typically, who creates a new way to attract extra people, extra students, more funding into your college? I think I'm making some people uncomfortable. This is not there's no hidden agenda here, please. Usually it's someone, it's usually the principal or someone or the head of the department, right? Not the lecturers whom we identified as the frontline employees. Yeah. So whoever execute this strategy should be involved in the creation of the strategy. It's straightforward logic. If you don't involve these people, they don't cooperate. So involve frontline employees while you formulate the strategy, because they are the ones who are going to execute it day in and day out. Okay. Now, how do you can't arrive and just declare, hey, now you two come here, you should trust each other from now on. It doesn't work that way. Now sign here, you are committed. But if you build this trust and commitment on if you inspire people to work together, then the whole thing becomes voluntary. There is no pressure, no force. People will cooperate to roll this out. Okay. So your strategy should think of execution right from the beginning. But the most common mistake people do in an organization is they think, look, my job is to write this strategy. Okay, I'll write 4 boxes and 3 arrows. Now you guys thrash out the details, nitty-gritties. Okay, you figure it out. They push it down the line. That should not happen. You should think about how is this blue ocean going to work. That should be your first question. Now, what you need to implement to execute a strategy is create a fair process. We'll understand what a fair process is. So this aligning people and creating and following a fair process is the 6th principle of blue ocean strategy. Okay. Now let's move on. What is this? Okay, why process? It's so important because a bad process can ruin the entire strategy. When we take up this quality ISO 9000 journeys in an organization and all, typically people don't want all these things. Hey, don't tell me that if I fill this checklist, I'm going to reduce all the defects in my software. Hey, don't tell me that if just because I'm doing this review, that everything will be all right. So it is very difficult to prove a connection between following a process and a good result. Okay, it's like this. You in your class cannot prove that if the attendance is at least 80%, marks will be at least 90%. Can you prove that? You can't, right? If a student attends every class, you can infer during that, okay, maybe that person will get more than 90%. But you cannot prove anything. You cannot prove that this guy got 96 out of 100 because he attended 97% of the classes. It doesn't work that way. But you can prove the opposite. Oh, this guy failed. Where was he coming to class? Hey, I have not even seen you in the class. That's how you guys speak, right? Yeah. The moment someone announces a failure, you say that, look, where was he? Haven't even seen in the campus. So poor process is almost the root cause of nearly every bad execution. Now, this book talks about one case study. Okay, here is a case study. It was a very complex product they were supplying. This company was making lubricants for a complex machine. And lubricant, selecting a lubricant is not an easy task. You have to consider so many factors. Okay, it's like deciding which laptop to buy. It's not easy. Nothing is easy nowadays. You have to read the review, you have to compare the this one, you will be confused by the model name, so many things. So what this company did is they introduced an AI based process to help you select the kind of lubricant that you need. In fact, in reality, this is also a very difficult thing to do. We have a 25 feet wide shutter, motor operated shutter that closes and opens our company main door. Okay, it's all automatic. It's so wide, and so we press a button and the shutter slowly rolls up. So I was thinking of, it was making a squeaky noise. I thought of putting grease. I had extra grease at home. Just for the sake of curiosity, I Googled, can I use this grease on the shutter door? They said, don't ever do that. That was the advice. Don't ever put your car's grease into the channels of a rolling shutter. Apparently, doing that attracts rust and worsens the problem. Just because I googled, I did not put that grease. So choosing a lubricant can be a daunting decision. Okay, so these guys introduced an AI-based system, but at the end of the day, it was a spectacular failure because the marketing staff rejected this system because they felt threatened. What was the job of marketing fellows? To help the customer buy the right kind of lubricants. When the company suddenly introduced this system, they felt threatened that they're going to lose their jobs, and those who are left in the system, in the company, they will lose their power. In front of their customer, all they have to do is, sir, welcome to our store. Please use this robot. It will tell you which lubricant to use. Knowing our Indians, our first question will be, "Tu kya kar raha hai yaar? If I have to work with this machine, right? That question comes to our mind, right? And most of us are rude enough to tell that to the people. Most of us are rude. If you think about it, right? We tell many things to many people without much thinking. Yeah. So this spectacular failure is attributed because of the poor process design. Sales team were not consulted, taken into confidence before rolling out this process. Had it been positioned like an augmented system, hey, this expert system will help make your job easier. Okay. Earlier you had to think so much, right? See, this bot is doing all the thinking for you. All you have to do is just recommend A, B, or C, three choices to your customer. If they had explained how the bot works and how it can help the salesman's job easier, to make it easier, maybe they would have welcomed it and it would have worked actually. So it's always easy to identify poor processes. All you have to do is look at failures. Okay. So when you're designing the process, you have to look for failures and identify lessons from that. This brings us to our interesting case study, Tata Nano. Are there any, first of all, let me ask this question. Are there any owners of Tata Nano in the participant? Because we are going to crash this car. I don't want to hurt anyone's feeling. Do any of you own a Tata Nano? If yes, I would like them to talk about this car a little. With pride or without pride, that is fine. Any owners of Tata Nano? No. Okay, no one knows. Okay, we are free to bash this car. Okay. Right. So Tata Nano is considered as a failure. Many people, if you go to YouTube and look around, there are thousands of case studies about Tata Nano's failure. In multiple languages, Kannada, Tamil, English, Hindi. In Hindi, there are so many, yeah, passionate people explaining why Tata got it all wrong. Okay. Tata Nano, when it came up, it created a blue ocean. Yeah, it promised the blue ocean. One cannot say whether it really created a blue ocean, but at least it promised one. Okay. So everyone got excited, and then after a long time, they realized that this did not meet the stated expectation. So I picked out a balanced case study. I'm calling it as a balanced case study because it looks at it is a bit fair to Tata Nano as well. It doesn't fully bash Tata Nano. It also highlights a few things about it. So please click on the link and watch this 10 minutes presentation. So I'll also what I have to do, this and load it up. I have pasted the URL on your chat screen and I'm bringing up it here. Right. So I hope everyone is still there. Okay. So you saw that a bit long case study on Nano. So initially it positioned the Nano as a feature-rich car, right? But if you read most of the case studies about Nano, this is what they say. You know, the product it was not an aspirational item. It was not even a car. No speed, no power, can't handle highway, couldn't climb inclined roads. The price kept moving. It moved so far away from 1 lakh to 3.3 lakhs. The promise was never met. It was positioned badly. It was never a neighbor's envy or owner's pride. It's not a family car. Yeah, it was positioned as a cheap car. And everyone came to know that Nano caught fire. So the public relation was not handled properly. There were a lot of issues in the factory in West Bengal. Farmer attempted committing suicide. Lot of protests issues. The chief minister historical, growing paddy and all that. What is that? I don't understand. And then in the end, you create a blue ocean and introduce another competing product at an attractive price range. What is this all about? All this points to taking people for granted. So, from blue ocean perspective, there is no denying that Tata Nano did attempt creating a blue ocean. It's unimaginable in a country like India to roll out a card for that price range. But when that announcement was made, no one, I don't know whether all the stakeholders were consulted. What is the best way to validate an idea? in MIT, okay, they stressed upon two things when we were studying there. One, ideas are cheap. We were told on almost on a daily basis, ideas are cheap. Don't jump around just because you got an idea. I'm a fan of Zen stories because they are very, very small. Okay? 3-word stories. For example, single hand clap. That's a story in itself. Like that, there is a 2-word story, 100 monkeys. Now, what does it mean? There are so many interpretations depending on who do you ask. One of the interpretation is, if this idea has come to your mind, it would have come to the minds of 100 monkeys before it hit your mind. Okay, that is why ideas are cheap. It is the execution that matters. How do you execute? You need a fair process. What is fairness? What is it, and how do you know that this idea is valid in the first place? Or when you introduce this idea, you are not offending anyone, or how do you know that it will create instant alignment? According to the MIT research, what they teach is, ask around. That is the best way to validate an idea. You got a brilliant idea? Okay, take a paper and pencil, meet 100 people and ask them, hey, I want to build this product. Would you buy one if I make it? If yes, how much you will pay for it? First of all, do you need it? Right? All these kind of things. You need to validate. Why this validation? Because you are treating people with respect and politely asking them, hey, do you need this product? So that is treating your customer base with respect to me. What features do you need, sir? So I'm asking them. So I'm putting them ahead of my product. Some people argue, there's another poll that argues, oh, no, don't ever ask customers, what do they know? Yes, I understand there is a limitation for thinking. No one would have thought that petrol could be delivered to your doorstep. No, we never thought that you can buy 6 seconds of a computer time. Cloud computing, that was before cloud computing. No one knew that you could withdraw money from a machine. Yes, people's limitations, imaginations do have limitations, but then you should ask. That is only then you are being fair to them. You should ask, you should check, you should involve, you should validate. Otherwise, you will be causing injustice to your stakeholder. A heavy word. Suddenly we are springing what? This became a law class, is it? We have the famous balance and the thick book there, and we are talking justice or not. But then, what is this justice? People are talking about it from what, 2nd BC? 2,500 years have passed, and still we are debating what is justice. You must have heard about this slogan in India. We want what? Next word, justice. What is that justice? Now these two guys, Thiabao and Walker, they got together and they created something called as procedural justice theory. Okay? Do you want people to trust you? Do you want people to trust the system that you are creating without you forcing them? Well, ensure that the process there is justice in the process. So a fair process have this simple formula, psychology of justice, plus whatever you have studied about the process. That gives you procedural justice. Fair process is implementation of the procedural justice theory. In the examination, how do you know? Students won't complain if they know beforehand what process would be followed to qualify them for a degree. Look, you have to study here for 8 semesters. We will introduce 32 subjects. You have to sit through some 40 hours of teaching, then write 32 into 4. How much is it? 128 exams, then you will use this formula to calculate your CGPA, and then one fine day will tell you how much you have scored. Good. The process is fair, right? Because you have explained it, you have involved, you didn't involve students while creating it. That's a different debate altogether. But at least not many people will complain with the result because they know that there is a process to this and there is fairness in this. Fairness because they knew about it. It was published. So that is why we called it the psychology of justice, not real justice. You know, even though people, you give real justice to people, they do complain that justice was not done. One famous example in the software industry is annual pay revision. How much ever you give, people are not happy. They still say, "Oh, you did injustice." Okay, so the fair process. How do you create one? Best is get everyone involved. Have this, ensure that they have a say in the system. That way you're safe. You have considered everyone's input. Now inspire everyone to cooperate voluntarily. Voluntary cooperation is more than mechanical execution. Yeah, that we all know, common sense, right? So how does this fair process affect people's behavior and attitude? One, there are three elements to this: engagement, explanation, and explanation. We'll come to that very clearly. First of all, there is a process to this. It will inspire trust and commitment. It will make the behavior more voluntary. It will make people to go beyond what is required to be done. First of all, you know, if you hear them out, they feel that, look, my opinion counts. So they trust the system, and then they will help you by going out of the way. Okay, and when you involve everyone and align everyone, they will participate in the system on their own, and they will only initiate the entire process. Okay, so how do you do that? A little bit more. Okay, I said there are three pillars to this process. One is engagement, that is involve everyone, explain, and set very clear expectations. Okay. So how do you engage people? Get them, ask for input, allow employees to question the ideas or assumption of other people. So this is very important. We don't tolerate questions. That way we are an intolerant country. Okay. I safely ask everyone at the end of the session, do you have questions? I'm very, very sure that there will be one. Most of the time there is 0 or 1. Okay. Then we have to come out of this shyness and ask a lot of questions. Okay. Now, when you engage people, you're conveying certain things on behalf of the management, giving them respect and assurance that, look, you are safe. Don't worry, your job is safe. Things will only get better. Okay. It doesn't mean lying. If the job is getting tougher, or if there are job losses, you should be upfront, honest about it. Look, this new change that we are going to introduce will cut 1/3 of the employee strengths. 1/3 of you will be losing jobs, but don't worry, we still have 18 months to go. And when we let you go, we will let you go in respect. We will pay so much, and we will also have spoken to our neighboring factories. They will be absorbing most of you. Okay, we will ensure that each one who have lost the job will get a new one. If you communicate like that, believe me, it will create a new energy. Okay, that's how you engage people. Then explain. Most of the times we assume that what they won't understand. How do I explain a helicopter? In fact, this MIT had given us an assignment. Explain your favorite technical topic. I had chosen cloud computing to an 8-year-old child. It's difficult, right? So you have to, how much to explain? In what sequence? Text or picture? Animation, or should I read it out? How do you explain things? Okay. So what is the objective of this explanation? The final strategic decisions, people should know the motivation behind them. People should feel confident. Why do you need to explain? To communicate to people that you have been fair. You have considered all dimensions of things, and everyone's interests are looked after. Okay, and they are not let down. That's the explanation part. And third one is expectation clarity. What is it that they, okay, fine, you explained everything. You said that there's a blue ocean, we are doing all these things. Now what they should do, you have to tell role by role. Say tomorrow the chief minister is visiting our college, okay? If you announce that much and then go, people will be wondering what I should do. I've already applied leave, should I cancel? Or should I even come to the office? Who knows? Security reasons, nobody is allowed. If that is the reality, then you should tell people, right? What is it expected? What do you expect them? What kind of dress code? Who should speak? Who should welcome? All these things. So there should be very clear roles and responsibilities, goals and targets, and a feedback loop. After giving goals, you should ask, did you understand the goal or not? Now that you have understood this, you go back to Tata Nano case. I've left it as a question for you. Did they follow a fair process? They positioned it as a cheap car. Did they ask people, do you want a cheap car? Was 1 lakh considered as cheap? There were people who must have laughed at that 1 lakh. Did they explain why just 3 out of 3 lakh cars, that is less than 0.1%, right, caught fire? They did not do all those things, right? Did they explain why they are introducing Quid at a price point lower than the high-end Nano? Would they explain the delay? There was a significant delay between the delivery and the promised delivery date and the actual delivery date. So many people booked, waited. It never came, the product. Did they explain why? Did they involve everyone? There are people who complain that this is not even a car. I can't handle it in a highway. Did they explain whether it is supposed to run in a highway? Somebody took it across the world to prove a point that it is actually a car. Many people complain that it is not a family car. Did they explain, position it as a family car? Did they meant to make it as a family car? They took the customer for granted. In this process, there was very little. They could have done a lot. That's the end result. So from Blue Ocean perspective, Tata Nano is a failure because they did not follow this fair process. Okay. They were disrespectful to the end customers. They did not explain things. They did not explain the power. We come to know that it has many features, like 30 kilometers per liter, best CNG mileage, highest ground clearance, 180 mm, 4 meter shortest cutting radius. Did they explain all these things? They would have put it in, and you saw those advertisements, right? There was no energy, glamour. Okay, the other car had energy, glamour, color, fun, new possibilities, right? And this is what? A lady hits the car with a purse and the entire car shatters. Did it send the right message? And what is with people jumping from first floor of a building? Not one of them, 3 of them. What did it prove? Right? If you think about the whole thing study this from the fair process point of view, you would see that they have not followed this fair process. 3 things they should have done. What? Engage, explain, set an expectation clarity. Engage the segment of the people whom they are targeting, give them pilot cars, ask them to test, explain their strategy, delay, features and everything, and set an expectation. Look guys, don't expect it before the middle of 2009 or something like that. Yeah. So from our point of view, Tata Nano is a failure because it did not respect the fair process. Okay. Now, there's another case study which I want to take, which is mentioned in the book. I will pause for just 1 minute just to see whether there are any questions at this stage. Don't worry, there's another video coming up, and I know it is a bit boring, but I'm trying to make this a bit as light as possible. Are there any questions about the FAIR process? Or is it fair to assume that there are no questions at this time? No questions? Okay, I'll move on. So here is a story of an elevator making company. They had two plants, one in Chester, the other one in Hyde Park. This company wanted to build and introduce a new process of making elevators. So the Chester plant they chose Chester plant first because they thought the Chester plant is an easier place to start rolling out this change. They wanted to change the way they manufacture elevators. They wanted to introduce something called as cellular manufacturing. Earlier it was a one long end-to-end chain of operations. They wanted to club certain parameters into blocks and call that as one cell talking to another cell, that kind of a thing. Instead of a sequence of 10 steps, they wanted maybe 3 shells of operations. They assume that it's a new way of manufacturing. Okay, so the Chester plant had no trade union. Hyde Park plant had a trade union. We all know that trade unions means problem, hartal, dharna, West Bengal. All these things come into my mind. Red flag, communist nation, Kerala. In Kerala, somebody told me that every day there is a strike. And some days there is a strike because there is no topic to strike upon. Hey, let's have a strike because we don't have a strike. No reason to do a strike. Okay. Yeah, some sick jokes. But now there was no trade union at Chester, but there was a trade union at Hyde Park. So everyone thought, look, this is a nice ideal workforce. Let's roll it out here, the new process. What they did, they called consultants like us. Okay, not 25 guys, but yeah, imagine world's top 3 consulting firms. Yeah, these consultants were given, we were told not to disturb the existing process. So these consultants went, they dressed differently compared to the rest of the people. They were talking to each other in low voices. They just observed the workers without telling them anything. So they just made notes, secret notes. So the word started spreading in the company. Look, there are these strange fellows, they are taking notes. Oh my God, we are going to lose our jobs. Suddenly the fear set in. Somebody is studying our process. Means, so let's say you are teaching a topic and the HOD comes and sits in the class, in your class. What do you think? Oh, he has come to evaluate me. After the class, he will call me to a corner and give me some lecture. Right? So these consultants did not explain things, they made secret notes, and they did not even discuss anything with anyone. Suddenly, the plant manager was not visible in the company. He started spending more time in the headquarters, not available to every employee. So these people assumed that, look, the management is avoiding us because the plant manager is not there. So the rumor spread so quickly. After this, the management realized and tried to organize 30 minutes explanation sessions. They said, look, we'll spend 30 minutes with you and explain what's happening. Look, your layout is going to change. We are introducing something called as cellular manufacturing. What is it? People, they were given, this is a new way of building things, it will result in higher efficiency. That's all. So in the end, what happened? The whole thing collapsed. It was a failure. The intended change was not rolled out successfully. The costs went up. People became sick and started taking leave. There was fear set in. And people, worst of all, the people who had banned trade unions by themselves, they started talking about bringing back the trade union. So what was thought as an easy rollout at Chester proved to be a disaster because they did not follow the 3 pillars of a fair process. What were they? Engage, explain, set expectation clarity. They did not do. Whereas in the Hyde Park, what people did is they introduced consultants. The day the consultants came in, the management introduced them to everyone. They said, look, these are the super duper fellows from this consulting firm. They will be helping us to introduce what we call as cellular manufacturing. Oh, by the way, we are doing it to improve your work-life balance. It is going to introduce a lot of new efficiency. We will all go home early, reduce stress, and increase profitability and all these things. And this is how we are going to roll out. And then they called out role by role and explained, look, this is what we want from you. The major change was the change in the evaluation process. Earlier, each employee was evaluated for their performance. Now, in the cellular manufacturing, the cell, which is the collection of employees, that was being evaluated. It's like evaluating your whole department instead of you as an individual. That was a massive change, and it was successfully rolled out at Hyde Park because the fair process was followed. It was real, the perception was that the people at Chester were better. People at Hyde Park were ordinary. In Chester, we had the trade union, but in Hyde Park, there was no in Chester, there was no trade union, and in Hyde Park, there was a trade union. But still, failure at Chester, success at Hyde Park. Why? Bad implementation at one place, superb execution in the other place. The difference is the strategy was fair to the frontline employees. Okay. Now, you might think about it, like, how do you, let's say suddenly you're promoted as the head of the department of, in your department, and how do you inspire action? You know, how come some people walk in and everyone listens to them? Sometimes, even in my company, I felt that if I say few things doesn't get done, hey, don't judge me, huh? You may think, what kind of CEO is this? Openly admitting that. But I'll tell you, certain things doesn't happen in my company if I say. But some people, if they say, it works. I'm a nerd. I think about it, everything technically. I think, what happened? I used the same tone, I took the same time to explain. I made a joke also out of this, but still, no cooperation. See, there is a particular manner in which great people, great leaders talk about. So if you go to, I assume most of you listen to TED Talks, right? Do you? Don't worry, nobody's taking notes. You can tell the truth. Do you watch TED Talks?
Yes, sir.
If you go to TED Talk today, if you look at the all-time top-ranking TED Talks, I will do that. Okay. I will put this link here. Don't click it yet because I want to take you to TED Talks, most popular talks from of all times. When did TED started? In 1984. It was founded in 1984. Huh? Amazing. Wow. I didn't know that. Since 1984, let's look at the most popular TED Talk and look at talk number 3. This talk by Simon Sinek has remained a top 3 position from a very, very long time. I'm seeing this from past what, 5, 6 years? I don't know, from a long time. I don't know when, but whenever this is still one of the top TED talks. Let's watch just 4 minutes and 32 seconds of this. This guy explains why some people, great leaders, communicate so effectively, whether it is Mahatma Gandhi or Martin Luther King or Steve Jobs. This guy says they all speak in a particular pattern. Isn't it a great idea to know that pattern? So let's click on it and watch it for 4 minutes and 32 seconds. The cue is someone comes in and gives them a different mic. I thought only mics fail in only in our organization. No, even in TED Talk, these mics fail. So when someone gives this person a new mic, you can stop the video and come back to the talk. Okay. So I'm starting this play.
How to explain when things don't go as we assume? Or better, how do you explain when others make your achievements higher than substance? Some agencies, consultants, and media, then why is it that they seem to have something? Why is it that like the civil rights movement, wasn't the open and suffered under the civil rights movement, certainly wasn't the open free America
All right, back to our presentation. So what did Simon say? Okay, he said that all great people use inside out communication. They explain why, how, and what. Whereas most of us explain what, how, and why. Hey, we are conducting an FDP on quantum computing. That's the what part. How? By hiring some bunch of nerds from the industry online. Why? Because as a faculty, you need to improve your skills. Do you get inspired? Let's try that opposite, yeah? Hey, you know what? Moore's law, right? Moore's law. The computing doubles every 18 months or something. I think the whole industry believes that we are reaching the theoretical limit of Moore's law, which means we cannot make these computers do more than what they are doing right now. The cryptography and the complex calculations are going to become difficult. So we are trying to overcome this problem by thinking of using quantum states of electrons. So we are introducing something called as quantum computing, and we want you to. We think that you should know more about it. Would you like to join? See the messaging? It's different, right? What is not a great, the outer circle, so he calls it as a golden circle. The outer part is the least important bit. The core of the matter is in the why. So when you introduce a blue ocean, your strategy should be to explain that why. Hey, we are starting a super duper service called Dunzo, you can, people will ask why. Hey, we are starting an one-day match in cricket. People will ask why. What's wrong with the test match? That is how the cricket must be played. That is why it is called as a test match. You'll even before you'll get a long lecture on why test match is important. Right? Why one-day match was introduced? Because for the commercial success, to bring back the excitement into the game, right? Look, test match is becoming boring for most of the people. Okay, so let's increase the audience coming to cricket matches. Let's introduce a one-day match. Both teams finish the game in just one day, right? So please practice this and see how it changes things. I have watched this video so many times, and whenever possible, I show this to people. It changes. For me, it has worked. Okay. Here, when you build a strategy for your blue ocean, you have to explain. Look, we are bringing a car called Tata Nano. If you begin like that, you are explaining from the outside to inside. Why you need a car? Look, we need to improve the safety on the road, right? These kids are dying on the street trying to drive these crazy bikes. Or all these people are getting wet in the monsoon season, and it rains 300 days out of 365 days in our area. We need a protected vehicle. We need to protect people from dying. We need to increase the road safety. So let's avoid these two-wheelers. And let's introduce a new small car, right? inside out communication. So that is very, very essential. I thought it's interesting to insert this bit into Blue Ocean strategy. So we are coming to the close of the session. Don't worry, the presentation is also ending. So there is an obvious slide. Why does fair process matter? And it's no point discussing this slide because we all get it, right? It needs to be fair to people. And when you are fair to people, they're intellectual and emotionally, you will be recognizing them. You're recognizing their intellect and also emotions. Okay. Let me not dwell more. Okay, there's a theory behind that. You are academicians, you know that there is a theory behind everything, right? Intellectual and emotional recognition theory. The theory says when individuals feel recognized, they are willing to share more information and knowledge. Okay, then there are some individuals who defy this theory, but they are a minority. Okay, now what happens if you don't follow this? Let's ask the red cobra. The red cobra here says, look, if individuals are not treated with respect and valued, they may not share their ideas. Things won't stop at that. They will reject other people's intellect. They will call you a fool. Okay? And ultimately, they destroy this, whatever you are trying to bring in, by blocking your moves and strategies. Okay? They sow distrust in the whole process. That's what happened at Chester. Okay? Here is another small case study. This Sam Adams, they make beer. Don't judge me. Yesterday I spoke about rice wine, and today I'm talking about beer. By the way, I don't drink. Okay, these alcohol-related case studies are very, very common in the management courses. We played the famous beer game to understand the supply chain fluctuations. Yeah, there are many, many cases from this alcohol industry. So here, this company, they make beer. That's their product. So they hold a homegrown beer competition where they welcome their employees to bring their family, and they get together and they make their own beer. Yeah, so they have a good time. So this relaxed environment encouraged these people to work together and create new varieties of beer, it seems, while having fun and everyone getting together. So people have done many experiments like this to promote harmony and applying fair process. So fair process is a contribution into an intangible capital asset of an organization. It drives commitment, trust, and brings in voluntary cooperation. When you implement a fair process, people will put aside their self-interests and they work for the good of the company. Yeah. Now here is a map of all the intangible core capital assets that we talk about in an organization. Usually all the intangibles are human capital, HR, and all this culture, or the relationship like social media marketing and other things. Structural capital and strategic capital. We talk about all these things as intangibles. You can't touch them, right? So to that, the Blue Ocean, we are suggesting that you add fair process into this core intangible capital. Right, so we're coming to the conclusion. That's why these guys are dancing. So build execution into strategy. How do you do that? Look at the company made up of important roles where everyone is important, respect everyone. You need to create a culture of trust and commitment. And while building the strategy, use the frontline employees. And bear in mind, poor process can ruin strategy. Okay, we saw that in the lubricant case. And we also saw that the fair process is very powerful. It inspires everyone to cooperate voluntarily. Fair process has three parts: engage, explain, set clarity of expectation. Then we saw what happened at Chester and what happened at High Park. And then we understood there are theories behind this fair process. And we know that fair process is a very important part of blue ocean strategy. It is an intangible capital. All right. So by the way, why these three people are sad, I don't know. These three guys are a bit cheerful. These, you compare the two pictures, they look a bit serious. Fine. Just like yesterday, I just want to leave you a few questions to think about. Why do you think I think we have already answered it, but you can give it a try. Why do you say that Tata Motors did not follow a fair process in the case of Nano? Who were they unfair to, really? Okay. You all started online classes, right, due to COVID. Just think about, did you use a fair process? Was it a success, your online coaching? If not, what went right and what went wrong? Can you think about it? I'm not saying that, by the way, I'm not saying that your online classes are a failure. Just giving you an opportunity to check whether you've used a fair process because that's a massive change in your industry, right? You're used to go stand in front of people and talk, and all of a sudden you have to use online means. That's a new big change for you. And then the last one, are we teaching our children the value of fair process? Many of you will answer, I don't know, sir, I don't have a child. But to answer the last question, assume that you have one. Okay. All right. So that's the end of my presentation. So if you have any questions, sorry, we have just ended at 4 o'clock. But if you have any questions, I'll take them now. So switch on the mic and ask. Otherwise, chat on the chat window. Sleeping? No?
Audience, participants, please, if you have any question, you can share here. Also, you can share in the chat box. Please go ahead. Sir, if there is no any questions from audience side, yeah, we got one.
So just one thought that if the online teaching would have been initiated and presented at new learning posted, maybe that.
I heard only online teaching was initiated. That's all I heard. Could you type it or could you repeat it, please?
I was saying the online teaching was forced upon us. If it would have been given to us as a thing to improve ourselves, enhance our skills, that would have been better.
Yeah, you mean to say that the online classes were not received very well and you could have done better, is it?
No, I'm saying from the management point of view to the faculty, if they would have told us that online teaching would be an enhancement in our own skills.
Okay. Sorry, I still heard only the alternate words, so I have difficulty understanding. Are you saying that when the online teaching, in order to do online teaching, you should have improved yourself better, or?
No, sir, I know management could have kept it better way that will be an enhancement in faculty.
Dr. Purvi,
Yes.
may I interrupt you for a while? Can I ask you to type in the chat box
Yes.
because the audio is not audible? Can you type your question in the chat box so that we can understand your question?
Okay, while Dr. Purvi types, let me take up these questions. Why every time performance is compared when it has a due date or a target? This See, this goes back to, I think, the Ford. When Ford started making cars, that's when this theory of process study, comparing people's performances, all this became formal. Until then, it was just job well done, etc. But then you need some benchmark, right? And in the manufacturing industry, see, most of these controls and metrics, they come from the manufacturing industry, not necessarily in the knowledge industry. Knowledge industry is recent nowadays. So in the manufacturing industry, typically the timing study, due date, these are all the first natural performance measure. That is why that is remaining as a most important measure even to this day. I hope that was what the question was about. Okay, and then we have one other opinion. Positioning Tata Nano as the cheapest car was not fair. Maybe not fair to the consumer. The role is required here. Okay. Okay, and then there are some appreciations as well. Thank you very much. Okay, now comes Dr. Purvi's question. Online teaching could have been presented by the college management to the faculty as an opportunity to upscale themselves. Right. Why before what? That's correct. Yes, they could have done that. It's an opportunity to upscale, not just the faculty. There are many ways. How would you sell? How would you inspire online teaching? You could say, look, we have to ensure safety of the society, yet make progress on education. You could begin something like that. Yes, if you don't articulate the why part of it, it sounds like a forced thing. Yes, you're right. Yes, online teaching is a wonderful experience, no doubt. But the core idea was to inspire voluntary participation and initiation, right? People should be looking forward to that. Nowadays, I don't know, like except cricket match or something, nothing seems to inspire people on a voluntary basis. Most of the things are forced nowadays, right? Seminars are forced, many things. Basuraj sir is smiling, so he knows something. All right, yeah. So, any more questions? How fair is the fair process when people in a meeting are not interested to speak or think? Very intelligent. That's a very dangerous question. I'm not answering that. Is PPUG, pub game? Okay, pub game comes under the blue ocean strategy or how? Now, this pub game is a very interesting game played to illustrate the impact of a supply chain. Let's say that everything is a supply chain, right? So, let's assume people are buying watches. Or people are buying, let's take the beer only. People are buying beer. You will look at the number of population and the number of beer bottles, and let's say you are a shop. So you will order 300 bottles of beer. And assuming that you will continue to order 300 bottles every day, your wholesale supplier, he will order 3,000 bottles. Assuming that the wholesaler needs 3,000 bottles, the factory will manufacture 30,000 bottles, right? A simple change, let's say this store, instead of ordering 300, they ordered 400. Then everyone will change their quantities. And in the end, the factory will make 40,000 bottles. So a small change triggered at one end of the supply chain will impact everyone so much, so that the other end, the change is so high. This is called as butterfly effect. This is what they call as butterfly effect. A small butterfly flaps its wing in New York and suddenly it rains in Saudi Arabia. Something like that. So everything is connected, and with every passing chain, the change amplifies, becomes bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And at the other end, it hits you so high. So this pub game is very interesting to play. There is one major surprise at the end of the game. I think you have to play that and experience. If you have time, you should conduct one on that. Okay, I understand the question is on the PUBG game. I don't know this PUBG. I think it's online fighting, right? Well, yeah, it is a kind of blue ocean strategy. Were you fighting online with swords and all before PUBG? No, no. Now it did catch the imagination of people, and it did make them go out of the way to play all these things on all available platforms wherever possible. And I understand it has caused a lot of side effect as well, and it did capture the imagination of people, drove up the sales of the game. It was commercially, it was I understand it was a success. So it did introduce a new class called as online interactive gaming on a large scale. It's like your MOOC, massive online something, right? So this is also something like that. Massive set of people playing together on a virtual platform. It's a sort of blue ocean. There, by the way, there are no yardsticks to declare that yes, this is a blue ocean, this is not. So you have to use some general principles to identify. Satellite kitchen comes under blue ocean strategy. What is a satellite kitchen? Do let me know what is satellite kitchen. I'm not. I'll take the next question. Is it possible to include thousands of frontline employees in a firm? Okay, now flip the question around. I know it is painful to include all of them, thousands of them. Yes, that is one, you will get, say, 100 units of pain. Imagine not doing that. What is the pain you will get? Your strategy itself fails, no? You will get 500 units of pain. So you better take 100 units of pain and include everyone possible. See, you can ask them to just put a vote, just put an X mark here, or give them blue coin and red coin. If you like this idea, pick one blue coin and put it in the basket. If you don't like the idea, pick one red coin, put it in the basket. Then at the end of the, let's say you run this for 1 week, ensure that everyone has put in coins and you count. I know what you will ask next. How do I know that one person has not put 10 red coins? Okay. Don't get too technical about it, but there are ways to do that. Give them an app or an online. Nowadays, it's easier. Send them a link. Ask them to press blue button if they like the blue ocean idea, or the red button if they don't want to go ahead. You can include. It is possible. Technology has made it easier. Okay, satellite kitchen means a food service establishment approved by local health jurisdiction where food is stored, prepared, portioned or packaged for service elsewhere. Yes, this has suddenly created a new opportunity, right? It has changed the way the restaurants operate, and it can be considered as a blue ocean. How many satellite kitchens you see now as opposed to a year ago? Yeah, it will soon become red ocean. Okay, I'm referring them included in strategy formula. Okay, you mean, can you involve thousands of people in strategy formulation? Yes, please seek their input. Let's say you have 3 options. To roll out a strategy, you have 3 options. Reduce everyone's salary by 10%, or terminate 300 people, or move 300 people to another area. Let's say you have only 3 options. Which one you should roll out? So you can ask them. It is possible, and it should be involved. Like I said, you will pay a heavy price if you don't involve. You may think it is initially you may think it is a lot of work, but you better do that. Otherwise, you'll pay a significantly higher cost. And imagine on the positive side, for this side, if you include everyone, they will trust you so much, maybe for the next 5-6 years, they will trust everything you do. What is the price of that? What is the reward of that?
Actually, here, if I may interrupt, have you ever
Yeah.
seen in real corporate world, no, that's the top management ever including these frontline employees in strategy formulation? I would have not seen them including. Maybe
I have seen, for example, public referendum, Brexit. Should UK remain in the EU or go out? They involved nearly everyone, right? And I have personally seen in Bosch, UK, a vote like this was conducted to introduce a new warehousing system. We were asked to place, in fact, I was also involved in this. We did provide them the blue and the red tokens. And yes, there were one strange day, there were suddenly too many, more tokens than the head count in the factory. Yeah, you can do that. What is the difference between innovation in an industry and a blue ocean? Blue ocean is a business which gives you unlimited advantage, zero competition for a while. It's like, running so fast, it's like being Usain Bolt. Has anyone caught up with him yet? It's been 5 years now, 5 years, 6 years, more than that. No one is able to catch up with this guy somehow. Why? Maybe he has some special or some cool technique. He's the blue ocean of running. Others are still struggling to catch up with him, right? Until he becomes old, he'll enjoy that advantage. So blue ocean is that kind of industry wherein you are the only guy providing this service and enjoying all the benefit it is bringing. For example, Facebook. Yeah, who has caught up with Facebook? Or the first newspaper, or the first engineering college to appear in your state. Everyone, you are the famous one, right? Whatever you said, the question paper you said was used across the whole university and all that. Then all of a sudden there are 200 engineering colleges. Yeah, you lost out, right? Whereas innovation is just an activity that helps you create blue ocean. It is thinking differently and creating something non-existent. So blue ocean is a type of the competitive advantage. Innovation is a technique that gives you blue ocean. Okay. All right. So thank you for nice questions, actually. People mindset is also one of the reasons to failure in nano. While launching nano, middle class. While traveling nano, that indicates financial status of freedom. See, Ratan Tata may say whatever he wants. It does not. Like Ratan Tata is just the owner of the company. He said, "Look, I saw 4 people traveling in a scooter. I created this nano." That doesn't mean that thousands of people should accept it with pride, right? When I pay for a car, I want it to be unique. In my community, in my society, in my apartment, I should stand out. People have a right to feel that way, not necessarily go by what Ratan Tata believed or said. Okay? People have a will to make a mindset. Let us not forget that. And whoever is in this innovation business and business mind, no, you should understand people do have something called as free will. They can reject your product without any reason. Or they reserve the right to say, no, I still don't like you. I don't like your service. I don't like your product. So you should design, your design should address that fact. So, all right. Any more questions? You can send questions over SMS, WhatsApp, LinkedIn, all channels. So I'll try to answer them. Yeah. So is Patanjali creating a blue ocean? What is he doing? He created a store which there were already hundreds of stores, right? What did he do? What did he do which others cannot copy? What he's doing is he's taking a product and putting his brand on it, Patanjali, right? Patanjali this, Patanjali that, Patanjali, someone else can do it. That's what Tata did, right? Tata Salt, Tata Namak, Tata Steel, Tata Computer Services, Tata Nano, Tata this, Tata that. Where is the competitive advantage? And why is Patanjali struggling? You have Patanjali store, you also have more mega store, food world, all sorts of things, right? Patanjali converted a non-customer, like if you assume, look at him as a yoga guru, he expanded his market into papad and all other products, right? That one connection you can make. But I don't think Patanjali stores, I mean, by Patanjali, you mean Patanjali store. That's the assumption I'm making. And it's another grocery store, right? So in my opinion, he is still in red ocean. It's difficult for him, right? These examples are of umbrella branding. Yes, umbrella branding is also called as white labeling, right? You give me the goods, I will apply the label. I will put my label and sell it. That is an old story. But Patanjali did it on products that was a surprise. Somebody was joking, this guy will take even Gobar and brand it, like, I don't know. So people are expecting Patanjali dresses now. So yeah, maybe he did it with a few products, which was a surprise to other retailers. But as such, it's debatable whether it's a blue ocean or not. Sir, it has got an emotional connect with people, right? Which one? You mean the Patanjali products? Probably. But that doesn't mean that. What did it create? Did Patanjali create some competitive advantage that no one can connect with? That's the question you have to ask. Is what Patanjali did, can I do it as well? Or ask this question, does Patanjali have competition or not? Who are the competitors of Patanjali? If you can come up with 10 names, then he has not created a blue ocean. Who can run fast as Usain Bolt? As fast as Usain Bolt. Can you list any other name? Usain Bolt is the world's fastest 100 meters running fellow, right? Isn't it? Until you get 5 or 10 names, Usain Bolt is reigning the king. He is ruling the whole world. He created that new legend, group of legends. Same with Sachin Tendulkar, right? He's in a class of his own, right? So to check whether something is a blue ocean or not, try making a list of all the competitors. If you can come up with many names in that list, then it is not a blue ocean, right? When Infosys came up, they were one of the few software services company in the whole of India. People did not know what outsourcing meant, right? Even when I was studying, people asked, what, you become a data entry operator or what? It confused us actually. We were thinking computer science is a great course, and here is people are asking us, what, you want to become a data entry operator? Even we were clueless about software jobs then, right? For about a decade or so, Infosys did enjoy a blue ocean. Right? So the key is this: make a list of competitors. If you get many, then you are not in a blue ocean. Any more questions?
Yes.
Mahesh Pandit, sir, it was a very wonderful and informative session. Especially we enjoyed a lot when you took the example of nanocar. We were wondering why the nano was short for success. And you took many examples like online classes in connection with Blue Ocean strategy. So I must thank you for all your wonderful questions. Your session was very much helpful, and I believe the participants interacted very well with you. They have enlightened. So I thank you on behalf of Department of Mechanical Engineering, JNNCE Engineering, and also on behalf of all our participants. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mahesh, sir, for your wonderful session. It was really nice here, and participants are really giving very positive feedback. They are so involving in your presentation with so many questions and all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for the opportunity. I too enjoyed a lot. Thank you. See you tomorrow. Bye.
Dear participants, we will once again meet tomorrow for our next session. Next session by Dr. Manjunath S. tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. sharp. So thank you one and all. So we will meet tomorrow once again. Thank you.